Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Life to the Max show. This is part 2, I guess. We kind of had an introduction to LDSPrepper. I decided to roll the whole video, that clip that I did, and just do commentary on it because there was a lot of great ideas in there, and also some little comments here and there of where I would tweak things. And I do a lot of that with all these other camps. I share ideas with them, and I get wonderful ideas from them. And so this one is a gem because we get to actually see LDSPrepper's wife, Sue, show you the amazing byproduct of what they were baking in that stoven. It's a stove oven. It's a stovepipe oven that you can put on a little potbelly stove of old, or on top of what they had was one of those rocket stoves. We'll find links to both of those. See if we can't find a good supplier for those as a bunch of options. We're going to try to find a whole bunch of options. My sister, Mindy, we actually had another Mindy moment, had some great visit with her, shared a couple of really great things with us. And one of the things was an idea for a segment, which we'll probably call Tuesday. And it's where we can show you a bunch of products that we have found that we can check out, show you the options. And then once you see all these options, then you can decide and choose which one of them might be best for you to start with, and just start with that one. Choose one, get started. Taking some action is better than not, because you want to learn from my mistake. There's a thing called analysis paralysis. Ready, aim, fire. And if you're aiming and I gotta have it just right, I gotta land it up perfect. And instead, we need to be like a heat-seeking missile. We need to be ready, fire, aim, and get off the launch pad, then start seeking. And you can adjust the targeting as you're flying, but at least you're moving. You're at least making some progress. You're getting off the ground, if you will, with a project. And so finally, I'm getting off the ground with this project, and it's going to be rough. And, I always call it QD, not quick detachment, but quick dirty. It's done is better than perfect. It's just getting it done. And if I spend time to what's the word for it? Just to tweak it to make it perfect, it'll never get done. As my mom's poster said on the wall years ago when we were growing up, it was a picture of a little kitten or something. But anyhow, the phrase was, the smallest good deed is better than the grandest of intentions. So, got to take action. So here we go. We're going to watch this. I'll stop making a little commentary, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what you could do in a tent in a field. It's some cool stuff here. All right, we're back to LDSPrepper family compound, if you will. A little tent suite. And this is the end product. That's what you can do out in the middle of nowhere, set up and properly prepared. This doesn't look like barely surviving. This looks like thriving. And this is what you can do. And so she's going to let that get the nice coating on the glaze on the outside, and they're cooking a couple more in the neighbor's stoven. But then they also have sun ovens, which now the sun's out, they could easily cook stuff in. There's people with brownies and cookies going all over. So this is the time to practice on these things. Let's go over and look and see how these are doing. So is anything in here? Are you?
250.
So now, and that's on a partly cloudy day, people.
Yeah.
That shows you how these can work. These ones are a little bit wider. The reflectors angle or hook onto them. And in a lot of cases, you don't even have to use reflectors because it works so well.
Right. If we're baking, we use the reflectors. If we're
Just
cooking dinner, then we take them off, and it's like a slow cooker.
Yeah.
Crock pot.
Yeah. And in fact, I think, does this have an anchor so it can anchor it down somehow, or how does it work?
It doesn't need one.
Oh, it doesn't, because this is so low, and without these, the thing doesn't tip over like other designs do.
Right.
Excuse me, fantastic. Well, I was hoping to get a taste test. Of course, I would go, this is so fantastic. That's what I would say. So let's just pretend. All right, I'm gonna eat some. Amazing, so delicious. You've got to try this. No. But here they are. All buttered up, and look at that, people. Look at that. And that is in the middle of a field with the sun and a river flowing nearby. And that's how good it can be. Oh, you're actually going to cut one?
Sure.
All right. And what types of grains did you put in this? Is it a multi-grain, it looks like? Because you had some cool seed stuff in there.
Yeah, it's wheat, oat, flax, and millet.
And some of these are ancient grains that have been around forever. Actually, all of them are, because unless it's a new hybrid, which we're trying to avoid. So what we're talking about here is we want an ancient grain that hasn't been tampered with. That's the same as it's always been throughout history. But what we're doing with our modern science, because scientists know everything with techno-fix, they think, well, we can make it better. We can genetically modify it so that it'll grow the way we want, and we can put our herbicide that this particular species of wheat or corn is supposedly isn't affected by this pesticide, so we can just pesticide the crap out of it, kill all the bugs or all the weeds other than this wheat or this corn. And so now we're getting all these chemicals in there, plus the fact that you modified this organism, which can mess with it. And so most people nowadays are saying no to GMO. In fact, in Europe, I think they banned it. But over here in America, the lobbies, the chemical lobbyists, they push it, and so we have a lot of GMO. But what that does is that modifies the plant, and in some cases in the wheat, it jacks up the gluten levels to way higher than it used to be from its original form. And because of that, our bodies are starting to get some sensitivity issues to the increased amount of gluten. And because of that, then we start getting having problems. Like me, I actually think that I have some wheat issues. I need to have that confirmed with an allergist to do some testing. But I think I have some wheat sensitivity issues. That's constant postnasal drip, constant phlegm. Once or twice I have my daily hacking where I have to cough it up, and it takes me about 20-30 minutes to finally get all that stuff cleared out, and then it calms down and I'm fine for the next quite a few hours. But it's still very frustrating because I'm constantly clearing my throat. It's very irritating. But so we want to stay away from GMO, and we'll show you how to store your grains and how to do that in a way that they're protected and they're stored up. You don't want to do it without oxygen. You don't want too many oxygen absorbers in your buckets or whatever you're storing it in, because that oxygen can deplete to make it so it's not viable. It's not a sproutable seed anymore. You can still grind it and make bread out of it and still probably good, but if you have a live seed that's still viable that you could plant or sprout, then that's even better, because there are definite advantages to wheat sprouting and to wheatgrass. And there's a lot of great nutrients in there. We're going to do a bunch of segments on sprouting and the benefits of the different types and ways of sprouting. I have a whole bunch of fun different sprouters here. If you haven't, we'll show them to you. And if you've heard of a new one or you think it's better, we definitely want to hear about it. And we'll see if we can find a good source for them to make it convenient for us to get if we want. But or see if we can get some kind of promo code, or especially a military first responder discount code or whatever. But anyhow, I was going to talk about, we'll do another segment on testing seeds for viability, because whether or not they're sproutable, and you want to keep them alive to be sproutable, but you do want to do things that can keep the critters from eating up your grains. You don't want weevil or whatever in there. So we'll show you how to do that in a safe way. And anyhow, let's keep going here. Then look at that, people. Look at how that's cooked inside. Is that not amazing? Whoops. Look at that. Just look at that. That's fantastic. Even at home, that'd be fantastic. You'd have to go to a fancy restaurant to get that. So that's amazing. I love how they have the little. All right, you see the butter there? Believe it or not, there's actually you can buy canned butter that's already canned for you, and you can stock up on that. And I wouldn't necessarily use that on a regular basis, but I would start to occasionally rotate that out so that you still have a good number of years of however long it can store. I don't suspect it would store the best for very long term. It's not going to be your 25 or 30 year thing, but it might store for 2 or 3 years. But you don't want to do that and only that. But as long as you store it up enough to have somewhat of a year's supply of butter, or get a goat, a cow, whatever. But those, the goat's a lot easier, takes up much less space, but you can get goat's milk, and you can make butter from that. But you can also you can actually home can in bottles. You're bottling your own butter, and I would like to actually do that, or have somebody that's done that come and do a segment for us and show us how to do that. So that way you get a good deal on the butter, and it's a really, really great sale price. Buy it in bulk, and then you can go home and can it in jars, and then you have them and protect them, and we'll show you how to protect your jars from being broken and in any other type of emergency, and making them easy to move if you need to evacuate, because the river's washing away the banks near your house, and your house has got about maybe 3 more hours before that river completely erodes that away. That happened over in southern Utah about a decade ago, and just those houses, everyone rallied, moved all their stuff out before that house just fell into the water and disappeared. But anyhow, there's plenty of reasons why you'd need to be able to move quickly. If the fire's coming and you need to evacuate, you can take your supply of food with you. But there's ways of canning butter, so we'll do some segments on that, so stay tuned for that. Little PlayStation. I hate to give any credit toward anything video or electronic, but there's a little play area for the kids to play. And here's hoping that the call it, the little play pool holds up. They have power source. They have solar panels. They have a solar generator, which is basically just a battery that charges up, and it has its own inverter built into it. But that allows them to use their mixer. That looks like a Bosch mixer over there. My wife bought one. We've had a number of really great mixers over the years, and I still have some of the older ones. Anytime I see them at a thrift store, I snag them, because if you need to lend them out, or you need to do a whole bunch at one time, you can mix up a whole lot of things real quick if you need to. And or you get kids that get married, you can start them out with a mixer, one of your old mixers, and after they get going and get established and get their own home, they can upgrade to the fancier, newer, more expensive units. But they can, be great investment. These are the kind of things you want to be giving to your kids for Christmas, not the useless stuff. Because right now, everyone's saying, you know what, sports are really not important right now, or theater really isn't important right now. Right now, what's important is taking care of us and living, having enough food, and having enough skills to know what to do in case the power went down. That's what would be more important right now, taking care of our families, and learning how to take care of them if it was a much bigger situation than this, what I consider a very, very easy thing. We still have all the stores, we still have all the internet, all the utilities, the hot showers, the cars at work, everything. This is about the easiest little wake-up call that we could ever have. So, and yeah, it could be way, 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 way worse than this. So, but if you prepare for the worst, doesn't matter. You're good to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Whether it's got water in it or not, they find a way to have fun.
And that's just it. Kids will have fun no matter where. Yes, absolutely. I don't remember any ornery kids. We might be able to find some in some of my clips that I go back and watch, but for the most part, kids are going to have fun, and they love being outdoors. They love exploring and catching bugs and learn about plants, and helping make some bread, and playing fun games, learn how to tie knots, and there's fun games. The last camp I went to, they had some of these. They had a launcher with a lot of these glow-in-the-dark stuff. It's a one-time use thing, but it was a fun thing. But there's plenty of fun games. We're going to teach you a whole slew of games. So I'll put a link right here to some of our game segments. I can't remember what we're going to call them, but there's a lot of games, and a lot of them that don't require a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about a lending closet for camping, where everyone brings 3 games, everyone brings 3 puzzles, and when you're through with yours, you can take it to that lending closet and swap it out for something. It's kind of like what they do over at a senior center that I saw. People just bring in puzzles, and they bring one back. Oh, I haven't seen that one. Let's do that one. And I just heard that people are doing lots of puzzles, and puzzles are really going crazy and selling really well lately. And so are a lot of other board games and stuff like that. So anyhow, we'll do a whole game segment. They will.
Oops, that was hot.
Are you all right?
No.
See that right there? Wonderful device. You look for those at thrift stores. Those are those really nice thermoses. And there's a tip out there. If you take, I haven't tried it out. I've heard about this. So according to Qui-Gon Jim Phillips, the Provident Living Preparedness Master, he talks about if you have information, that's all you got. You've seen it, but you don't know it until you have multiply it by experience, and then you have a knowledge of something. Just like a person who's heard about a fire extinguisher, never used it, and then finally they actually use it and they know how to use it. There's a cool story. I might as well tell you, this will be the first time, and when I hear it again, I'll just refer back to this story. There was in my first EMT class, the first class they talk about fire and fire suppression and basic fire. You're dealing with fire extinguishers and everything, and you get your hard hat, you get your goggles, you get your gloves, you get your vest, and they have a fire tray there that's put on by a fire department. They got a fire department there, but it's out in the middle of a parking lot, and it's pumping propane, and it bubbles up to this big tray with water, and then they ignite it with a fusee on a long pole, and then you got this big old flame burning, and then you and your buddy go in there and you put it out. And when you're going in like, I have never done this before. I don't know. I pulled the pin, I've aimed the nozzle, and then you get out there and you're shaking, you're a little bit nervous, and he's got your back and he's kind of guiding you, and he's got his hand on your shoulder to kind of guide you and then help you back out safely, because you can keep your eyes on the enemy, which in this case is the fire. So anyhow, you pull the aim, you squeeze the handle, and then you sweep, and as soon as you do that, it's like, whoa, oh yeah, okay, bring it on, man. Where's the next fire? And you have this rush of endorphins and confidence, whereas before you had a lot of cortisol. So it went from a stress hormone to a feel-good hormone, and you're excited and you feel good. And that's the way I want people to feel when a disaster comes. I want them to feel that good stuff because they know what to do because they've been watching this show, versus that stress hormone. What are we going to do? I don't know. We're going to die. You know, that kind of thing. Instead of that, I want you to think, cool, like I said, unscheduled camping adventure. So what happened in the first CERT class when they were teaching us about this, they talked about this ATV that caught fire on a beach, and they ran up, put the extinguisher down in the sand. Somebody did with a fire extinguisher. And they ran up, put the extinguisher down in the sand, and backed off as though to say, here, somebody, use this fire extinguisher to put it out. And everyone's going like, I don't know, I've never done it, I don't know. And they're under stress, and they couldn't think, and nobody did anything. And this ATV that was probably would have been fine with minor repair burned up with a perfectly good fire extinguisher sitting there and unused because nobody had ever done it. They didn't have the experience. So you have information is what I'm giving you, multiply by the experience, and then you have the knowledge. And then the next time you need it, you can take action and dive right in there where everyone else is kind of freaking out. And that's what CERT can do for you. And all these things that we're teaching you. So stay tuned for that. But we're gonna provide a link. Of course, I think that YouTube won't allow us to put links until we have so many viewing hours. So put the word out, get the word out. What do they call it? Like, share, and subscribe, and get the word out so we can get a lot of views, and we can really start getting this show going. And then you can, then we'll have a lot of you that will be able to put all those links in. But we're going to put a link to an online CERT course. CERT is Community Emergency Response Team, and I'll talk about that and what it is. But there's some great training in there for everybody. It's just like what you do in the event of emergency. You're going to help your neighbor even if you don't like them, so you might as well learn how to do it safely and correctly. And so anyhow, we're going to put a link there, and you can learn that and do it online. Even if there's not a big CERT course being taught in your area, you can still get the training. So stay tuned for that.
That's no good.
Garbage. Well, anyhow, did I finish talking about that thermos? One of the tips is you take the thermos, you put a little bit of wheat in there, you put 5 minutes of fuel to boil enough water to throw it in there, and I can't remember the ratio, and that's what we'll try to find. You put the hot water in there with the wheat, you shake it up, leave it on its side, and just go to bed. So this is something you're doing at night, and you're prepping breakfast. Wheat cereal is a very common cereal they used to have forever, and we've kind of gotten away from that. There's a way of grinding it into cream of wheat. There's a cracked wheat cereal, but there's also whole wheat cereal. It's just wheat berries that have been soaked and cooked And if you just put 5 minutes of fuel while you're cooking dinner, you heat up enough water, and then you have these thermoses for everyone. And I found some at the thrift stores. You can find different sizes. But those big, tall ones, they have stainless steel on the inside versus the glass, and they're less likely to break in the dire situation. But then you can put the wheat and the water in there, shake it up, lay it out flat, go to bed, wake up in the morning, and you have hot, cooked wheat cereal ready to go. Put a little honey, butter, a little applesauce, cinnamon, whatever you want to put in there, raisins, nuts. You can have a delicious breakfast of hearty cereal that you only spent 5 minutes cooking, and you did it the night before while you were still dealing with the meal and cleaning up. And it's ready to go in the morning. That's quick and easy. So that's a great little tip. We'll see. We'll put a link here, and we'll try it out, because I've heard about that, and that was where the information comes in. That's where I got sidetracked, is the information multiplied by experience. So I don't have the knowledge of that, but I have the information of that. If you guys want to try it and you get back with me, let me know. If you want to, maybe we could see if you even want to come on and do a little segment for us, and we'll put you on the show, and you can tell us how that worked for you. And then we can try it. If you want to experiment with that, if you got the time to deal with that, and you have an old thermos from your old truck driver and uncle or dad or something, or your guy that worked the night shift or whatever, and you can put it to good use and see how it works. So anyhow, we'll let's keep going. Oh, if you're gonna let me have one, I'll definitely take one. Look at that. Look at that. All right. Now this is for reals, people. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. It's so nice. The texture is fantastic. Real McCoy. People pay big bucks for this homemade bread. And she did it. They do. We used to make it and sell it in our neighborhood, like $5 a loaf. And it was warm. We delivered it warm. But another thing on my hat there, I want to do a whole little segment. I was in Goblin Valley State Park over in Utah, where they filmed part of the movie Galaxy Quest. I did a little review or a little explanation of that while I was hiking out of Goblin's Lair, which is a cool 85-foot cave that we rappelled down into. It was kind of neat. And anyhow, I just want to share that with you and why I like these kinds of hats. And so I'll put a link here for that segment. In the middle of a camp. This is glamping, people. This is awesome. Yeah, it's good. Well, thank you so much. It's good. I'll send everybody over here to know. All right. They have their amazing water filters that you can get that do such a great job. They have double tables set up. They have their gear. They had beds. The sides could come down if the weather looks threatening. They had a really nice military surplus tent that's really heavy duty. Those are available. We'll see if we can find a source if some people are interested. But anyhow, some cool stuff. And I'm going to go over and check out the little inner playground that they set up for their little kidlets. The grandkids. Oh. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Hey, having fun? I'm eating some of your grandma's bread. It's so yummy. It's so good. Have fun. Oh, I didn't show the little pool. Well, I wasn't sure if they wanted their little grandkids on there, so I decided not to. But they had a plastic pool that you could store a whole bunch of stuff in, and you could use it for heaven's sake, it could be a feeding trough. It could be a bathtub for cleaning up once a week, and getting the worst of the dirt off of people or clothes, or there's probably a zillion things you could use that little plastic pool for. But even without water in it, it was a fun little play place, and they could have all their toys in it. It was like a little playpen, a short playpen they can get out if they want, but they can go in and play with toys. Yeah. You get to play with the tools when you get older and you make your own shop and stuff like that. Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed that. It was kind of part 2 of the LDS Prepper, but part 1 of his tent, because in the next episode, we're going to actually be interviewing the LDS Prepper, and we're going to be able to see how his tent setup was the next year at a different camp. and we'll be able to pick his brain and learn all kinds of things about him and what he does, and it will be a great interview. But in the meantime, after being able to taste test Sue's bread, I thought it would be good to insert this segment that I did just recently on how do you cut bread. Because a lot of times when people cut bread, they cut it and it leaves a lot of jagged edges. And there's a tip or technique to cutting bread, homemade bread from a loaf, because, you know, we're all used to having it come in a package and it's pre-sliced and everything's fine and dandy. In fact, I used to work at a hospital in food service, and they would bake their bread, and they had this big feeder where they would put all these loaves of bread stacked up on top of each other like bricks, but all lined up, and they would run through this machine, and it had these reciprocating blades that would cut back and forth, so the whole loaf would be cut into slices. And when you have a reciprocating blade like an electric knife, those do a really great job for for cutting bread and also some other things. Stay tuned for an electric knife. You're going to want to keep your eyes peeled for those at thrift stores and pick them up quite inexpensively, because there's a certain couple of techniques in emergency preparedness that will be very handy to be able to have an electric knife. So keep your eyes peeled for those. But anyhow, I thought I would insert this because there's a tip to using a regular knife to cut a loaf of bread real quick. So check this out. If you're cutting like that, it tends to make a lot rougher edges. So when you come down like this, it makes a really clean edge on the cutting surface, because the part that's coming out, it's already pre-cut. And then the part that's coming out on there is already pre-cut, so it doesn't create that really jagged edges. Let me see if I can do it the other way and see. Can you see how it's a little bit rougher? And see how that really rips that out a lot more? So if you cut in so it's a nice clean edge and it's pushing and dragging those little edges in, and then you reverse it here, it tends to make a little bit cleaner cut on the bread. So angle like that, angle like this, angle like that, angle like this, and you get really good clean crisp edges instead of really chewed up red edges. Same thing on wood. Okay, I hope that's a helpful tip. I'm not a real foodie, but I know that some foodies are really into it. And half of the food experience is the presentation. How do you present it? The plating of the food. And so if you have bread that's not chewed up and ragged and it looks a little bit nicer, that it might appeal more to people, because a lot of our experience with food is the visual aspect of it. We've been kind of conditioned that it has to look a certain way in order to be a certain way. In the TV show Brain Games, they had 2 cakes, and they tested groups of people, and they had one cake that was actually made by the same cake baker, same material, and it was in a fancier box and at a higher price. And then they had one that looked like it was kind of homemade on a homemade plate and stuff like that. And they had them taste test them, and the people said that the one that was on the fancy box with the high price tasted better than did the plain one. So people's psychology, it's amazing. So plating or cutting a nice clean piece of bread might be helpful. Anyhow, this next segment I thought I'd throw in there, and it's one of the very first segments that I ever did years ago, and it's right around now, and you might actually still be able to find these. It was a couple years ago. I found a closeout. They had a box with a whole bunch of these shovels in a display case, cardboard display, at a local neighborhood Walmart neighborhood market. And they were marked down to like $15 instead of $25 or $29.95, one of those things. And I thought that's a pretty good deal. And I thought every one of my family could use one of those in a car. Every car should have something like this, a little emergency shovel. But it was aluminum, which is nice because the plastic ones tend to get brittle or break. So having an aluminum shovel with the versatility of this, you could also use it for building emergency shelters in the desert to get out of the heat, or using it for rescue in the snow in case of an avalanche. If you're out snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling, a vehicle, you can use it to get out unstuck from the sand or from the snow. Be a good thing to have. And you might still be able to find them at Walmart. So get the information off this. Call around your neighborhood markets and say, do you have any of these shovels? And if they do, I called around and found out that one store had a few of these, and another store had like 5 or 6 of them. And I was able to go to 2 or 3 different stores and get a whole bunch while they were marked down so inexpensively. And then I was able to turn around and give them to every one of my family and kids and married kids, so that everyone had one of these in their car, because it's just really good to have something like this, lightweight and inexpensive, plus you could use it for camping or preparedness things. And also there was a scraper that it was also marked down pretty cheap, and I thought, now the end of the season is the best time to really snag these things. So look for deals like that at the end of the season. Look for deals on winter camping, winter clothing types of things. Snag them when you can get them. Or at the end of the summer, you can snag things like barbecue briquettes, and we'll show you some tips on what I was able to get a really good deal on briquettes that could give you a year's supply of fuel for cooking. And we'll show you some really cool tips on how you can get 3 times as much meals cooked with the same number of briquettes if you do it this particular way. 3 times as many meals. I said 3 times as much. I had to fix that. Bad grammar. But anyhow, that's a cool technique that we're going to teach you about charcoal, cooking with charcoal briquettes. Neat stuff coming up. So stay tuned for that. So anyhow, hopefully you will enjoy this segment. Let's check it out.
Hi everybody, Max here. Got a quick product review, quick tip on this cool shovel that I found at Walmart. I like them because they're aluminum. If you have them in your car and you're trying to dig out yourself out from the snow, that's what they're designed for. They can store in a very small corner of your trunk in your car. The nice thing is they extend out. What you can do is there's a little knobby right here, so you can just push that button, pull it out, it locks into place. Push that button in, let it out, slide it out, and you've got a really nice long handle. So now you can really shovel and get out what you need to get underneath your vehicle or whatnot. But here's the reason why I'm really excited about this shovel, is you can take the head off and put it on the T-handle, and now you've got a hoe type of a device that you can grab sand, snow, and really quickly move a lot of material very fast. If it's sand, if you're driving along, you happen to be in a sandy part of a road, and you get bogged down and spinning, you can dig down there. We sometimes go to the sand dunes with our full drive, and they're able to clean out the sand very quickly. When digging out, you can also dig an emergency shelter in the sand. If you go down below the top surface of the sand, the lower level tends to be very much cooler than the very hot. And if you have a space blanket, one of those little $1 space blankets you get at a dollar store or the camping goods store, you can put some sticks in the corners of your little dugout, and then affix the tarp, that's space blanket, that's basically a Mylar film that reflects the heat. Back to you if you're underneath it, or away from you if you're under it like a canopy, and it reflects that hot sun of the day. You're down below the level of the regular sand, you're down where it's a lot cooler, and you can have a much cooler rest in the desert, in the sand, if you're trapped out traveling and you run out of gas or have car problems. But I love this because it also, if you're out in the snow, in the mountains, there's avalanche dangers, and they say never go out in the backcountry without a shovel, a probe, and a beacon. The beacon is always on transmit until one of your guys gets stuck, and then they put all of theirs on receive, and they can all receive the signal, hone in on where that person is. They kind of triangulate where he is under the snow. Then they can use their probe to push down through the snow until they find a spot in the snow that doesn't go all the way to the ground. So if they're going down all the way to the ground, they come up here, oh, there's something right here. Then they know to start digging, and then you can get your shovels out. If you're in a snow environment, you're on snowshoes, cross-country skis, snowmobiles, you always should have all that equipment on you. But if you have this really lightweight shovel, I checked with REI, theirs are $50 to $80. $15, and it's metal. This is all metal. It's a plastic T-handle. Another thing is I love to build snow caves. It's a skill that everyone needs to learn. I talked about it in another segment. In the winter time is the best time. The spring, when there's still snow in the mountains, go down, dig out, build a snow cave. There's great tutorials online. Hopefully we'll have some great examples up there where we try out different kinds of snow shelters. We'll put pictures up of something that we built. But I love watching and hearing stories about some guy that was trapped in the snow. He quickly built a snow cave, was able to survive the night, and the rescuers found him the next day. Sub-Zero is the name of the shovel. They have a lot of different ones, but this particular one is at Walmart. The SKU, that's what the tag looks like. The SKU is 79976 17 triple deuce, 222. Hopkins, I guess, is the one that makes this particular type of a shovel. You take it apart and put it back together. It only takes a couple seconds. Pop that down, pop this down. Let's see, hold on here. Shorten this guy so that locks up, and then slide it all the way down to there, and it stores a nice lightweight package, great for scouts, camping, whatnot. The thing that I like about it best is they've got 3 different colors that I'm aware of. They have blue, red, and green. I like the green because, you know, hey, military, anything that's olive drab, it's warm fuzzy in my heart. But they also have red and blue. If you want red so it's easy to see, where it's bright, if that's your approach, you want emergency equipment to be easily accessible, that's great. If it's kind of a bug out situation where you want kind of a darker thing where it's less likely to be noticed, then maybe that's another option. Or the blue could be a happy medium, or just get what you can get. Tell you, when you need to go and it's an emergency, you need to scrape a window off, it wouldn't hurt to grab one. This one has a large brush area to get rid of snow, great scraper, $3. Here's a SKU if you want to look into those. And it wouldn't be bad to check all your vehicles, make sure every one of them has a brand new clean scraper so that you guys can leave in an emergency if you need to. And if you don't, you just have a good scraper always at hand when you need to. When you're late for work, you've always got the right tool for the job.
All right, it kind of ended abruptly. Sorry about that. You know, inferior videography, superior information. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and there's some good tips in there. Hopefully you learned something, or maybe a bunch of somethings. I call it mining for gems or gold nuggets. Sometimes you have to clear some stuff. Yeah, I know that. Oh, I never knew about that. That is cool. I'm glad I watched this. That's a gem. That's a good thing. So hopefully there's some of those gems that you found in there. So anyhow, stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be interviewing LDSPrepper and checking out his a little bit more in depth, his tent setup, get an idea for that. A lot of cool stuff with that coming along. And anyhow, neat stuff. Stay tuned. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Till later, Max out.